Hey guys, and welcome back to Utility Sports. If you do enjoy NBA content, here's the place to subscribe. We cover NBA content all season long. So now we're looking at the Christmas Day games. And at the 11 o'clock slot, we have the Pelicans and Heat. Sheldon, what are the big X factors and things you're going to see in this game?
Yeah, this is a really fun matchup. The Pelicans came off of a nice win over the Tampa Bay Raptors this year, the Toronto Raptors. Usually, obviously playing in Toronto most times, but the Pelicans looked really good. Zion Williamson did his thing. Lonzo Ball put in 16 points. Steven Adams in his debut went 8-8. Pretty Steven Adams-esque type statistics there. And the Heat did lose to the Orlando Magic, but they're going to be a team that long term is going to, get into the playoffs and then really try to ramp it up once they're there. And looking at this matchup, it's going to be fun watching Zion versus Bam. That's kind of the thing that pops off the screen to me is you get that interior matchup with Bam being a really great rim protector and Zion being obviously one of the best rim attackers offensively in the NBA. That's going to be kind of the thing to watch for me there. And we see, possibly the next face of the league actually, and Zion Williamson getting his first Christmas Day game.
Yep, exactly. And so who do you think's going to win this game uh, at the end of the game here?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go and lean toward the Miami Heat. I think that their wing presence with Jimmy Butler slightly outperforms Brandon Ingram probably. And I think that their guard play is superior to what the Pelicans are going to have at this point. But I think the Pelicans are trajecting upward even with the loss to the Miami Heat.
Next, we have the Warriors and Bucks at the 1:30 p.m. slot. And for the Golden State Warriors, obviously a very disappointing loss to a very tough Eastern Conference team in the Nets. But now they're going up against another really, really good regular season team, also coming off of a tough loss. So, who do you expect to win this one?
Yeah, you're looking at probably what I feel is the worst matchup of the day, just because of what has happened injury wise. We're not going to have Draymond Green. Clay Thompson's obviously out for the season with his Achilles injury. So I'm seeing the Milwaukee Bucks walking out of this one with a 15-point win, probably. The Warriors don't have an answer for Giannis Antetokounmpo. This season's going to kind of hinge more on what James Wiseman can do developmentally. I think that Curry has a lot of pressure on him in the half court. We're going to have to see a much better performance from Wiggins and Oubre this game for the Warriors to really have a shot at holding tight. But also for the Bucks perspective, you get to see a little bit more of Drew Holiday in that third star role next to Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's kind of the storyline to watch there. For me, Austin, what's your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, like you said, I think you laid it out perfectly without having Draymond and Clay. It makes a lot of pressure on Curry. Essentially, you have a lot of new guys. Obviously, you have Kelly Oubre, who's a newcomer, but Andrew Wiggins, who's fairly new considering last year he didn't get to play with Curry. So a lot of new pieces. Got to develop some chemistry. Obviously, the Bucks have pretty good chemistry as a whole, other than adding Drew Holiday into the mix. But I think this is going to be a for sure win for Milwaukee. And now we're heading into the 4 o'clock slot. We have the Nets and the Celtics both coming off of big time wins. And for the Nets, they looked almost unstoppable against the Warriors. Obviously, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving went deep into their bags in that game. The Celtics, obviously, Jason Tatum had the bank in three. That was a really big shot for him. So looking at this matchup, two teams that seem to be top of the Eastern Conference esque. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, these are my two top teams of the East, like you had kind of laid out there. And I see the Brooklyn Nets edging this one out. I think that their depth kind of supersedes what the Celtics really have. You're looking at Jeff Teague versus a guy like Karis LeVert off the bench. That's a big difference. Jarrett Allen versus Daniel Tice off the bench. I think that is in favor of the Brooklyn Nets yet again. And just quite frankly, they have the star power that matches the Celtics with Kyrie and Kevin Durant versus Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum. I think that's even a slight edge for the Nets. And then the depth, like I mentioned, I just think the Nets are the more complete team. I like their offensive sets a lot more, a lot of pick and roll, which was what we're going to expect in a Steve Nash offense, obviously, with D'Antoni as an assistant coach. And the Nets are going to be a really good team this year. Their depth is probably their greatest asset. Kevin Durant looks like he's back. Really good rip through move yet, and that shot's not going anywhere. The Nets are going to be a problem this year.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that game. And then we're looking at the 7 o'clock slot. We had the Mavericks taking on the Lakers. Obviously, the Mavericks dropped a tough one last night to the Suns, and the Lakers obviously lost to the Clippers in the opener. Where do you see this game going?
Yeah, this is a tough game to kind of project. Right now, the Mavericks do not have Kristaps Porzingis. He won't be back until about mid-January, so we're looking at a couple weeks here without him. So quite frankly, on paper, the Lakers have the advantage in this game. The Mavericks don't really have anyone to match up with Anthony Davis when Kristaps is out of the game. Dwight Powell is a shell of his former self, which wasn't even that great to start with. Maxi Kleba can't protect the rim. Willie Cauley-Stein only played about 10 minutes last night. So I'm just looking at the Mavericks. I don't really see a way that they match up with Anthony Davis or, impede LeBron James from getting to the rim. We're going to see a lot of Dorian Finney-Smith on LeBron probably, and that's just not a matchup the Dallas Mavericks love. It's going to be really reliant on Luka Doncic to have a really great game. He's probably going to have to be looking at about a 35-point triple-double for the Mavericks to really compete in this one without Kristaps there. So I have the Lakers narrowly edging it out. I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks after the Phoenix Suns game last night.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty competitive game. Obviously, Lucas started off very slow out the gate, but assuming that there was also slow starts on the Suns' part. Obviously, Chris Paul had a rough game for sure. So it's just a sloppy game, first game of the year. Obviously, we had talked about Luka looking a little winded, but I think that this is still going to be a close game despite them not having their other star in Porzingis. But I do see the Lakers narrowly edging this one out. I think it's going to be a more competitive game than people realize because the Mavericks are loaded with depth. So obviously, I think they have one of the top benches in the entire league. So I have the Lakers taking this one. But now we're going to move to the 9:30 slot. We have the Nuggets and Clippers. The Clippers won against the Lakers in the opener. And there's going to be a lot of fuel in this game. Obviously, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are going to come out ready to play this game. They had an embarrassing 3-1 loss, 3-1 loss series against the Nuggets in the playoffs. So it's going to be a high emotion game. I think both teams are going to come out ready to go. I think this is going to be the best game of the entire day. That and the Nets Celtics game is going to be competitive, but I think this is going to be the best basketball played on the day. I think Paul George is going to redeem himself again. I think he's going to put up anywhere from 25 to 30. And I think he's going to, definitely show the world that he is still a top 10 player. A lot of people have forgotten about him or have written him off completely. There's a lot of people that think he's not even a top 20 player, top 30 player, which is just wild to me. We forgot who Paul George is, and all they're going to say is Pandemic P. But I think Paul George is ready to show the world this season that he is a star player in this league.
Yeah, like you said, this is the most exciting game of the night for me as well. There's a reason the NBA put this in the late flex area for the games on Christmas Day, the rematch of the playoffs. I'm really excited for this. The Nuggets looked pretty good in their loss to the Sacramento Kings. Jokic put up a triple-double, and you're going to get to see the addition of Serge Ibaka in this game, what he kind of looks like defensively against Nikola Jokic. He was a big acquisition for them. I think the Nuggets series played a big role in why they wanted to bring him in. And now you're looking at a much improved Clippers team in my estimation. And I'd really, really love to hear outside of Ibaka, who you kind of have as an X factor for both teams in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a guy that did not get a ton of run in that Lakers game. That's Luke Kennard, the new acquisition who they signed to that big extension. And Luke Kennard is a guy that not a lot of people know. Obviously, he played in Detroit and he has dealt with some injuries, but I think he's going to be a player. It's going to be interesting to see if they mix up the starting lineup. If we see Batum in the starting lineup, if we see Kennard in the starting lineup, it's really going to be interesting to see what Ty Lue does. I think he's going to play around with it, for sure the first 20 games and kind of get a feel for what he's got on the roster. But I think that Luke Kennard is the X factor. How about for you in this game?
Yeah, I definitely think that he, for the Clippers, is the X factor outside of Ibaka. And looking at the Nuggets, I think Michael Porter Jr. Is going to be a big key player for them. Sometimes he's going to give you 20. Sometimes he might give you 8 and no defense. You're kind of hit or miss with what you're going to get out of him on a night-to-night basis. He kind of reminds me a little bit of what Josh Howard gave the Mavericks in the mid-2000s in terms of what his success was. When Josh Howard would score 20 points a game, the Mavericks were 24-0 in 2006, and then other games where he just disappear and score under 10. I kind of see that as Porter Jr.'s role for the Nuggets here. I think if he comes out, has a really great game and can at least play competently on defense, the Nuggets probably walk away with a win, but I'm not so sure about that and the likelihood of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Also, leave in the comment section what you think the most interesting game is, who's going to have the biggest game of all of these teams, and who's going to be the best individual player. Also, subscribe and like the video if you did enjoy the content that you saw. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.